Uh, yeah.
He,
Anyway,
he's
All right,
he's switching to go live.
I think we're live.
we are
Yeah.
live. Sorry,
Yeah.
today no camera because my phone is charging.
Yeah. All right, let me preview a little bit of the stream to make sure we have sound.
Yeah.
He-
Anyway,
Of course,
sorry.
we could just
switching to go
ask the
live.
YouTube chat. I think we're live. YouTube chat, yay or nay on my audio and these guys' audio. Can you hear me and them? Yeah. All right, let me
Santa Claus
preview
just
a little bit of
farted. Did anybody hear that?
Yeah, can you hear Dark Zero?
Yeah, audio's good.
Great. All right. Well, this
Well-
should be an interesting show because there is a lot of interesting news as far as Linux and free and open source software to talk about.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into a bunch of really important things. But before I get into that, I did want to mention, because, you know, people were asking why the Saturday chat, because we always do it on the last Sunday of the month. That's because tomorrow's Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
And here in the U.S., I typically do these things in the morning. Well, most people are not going to be around on Easter
doing egg
Sunday
hunts.
morning, right? So it didn't make sense.
They're going to be busy hunting for eggs.
Right, exactly.
Well, you know,
So-
I always usually tell people when I'm in business settings is that New Year's and Easter and Christmas to a certain extent, you can't find people. You know,
Right.
that's the busiest times of the year for people not to be doing work. So
Right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, even if you're a casual churchgoer, if you only go to church one Sunday out of the year, it's going to be Easter Sunday. So I was like,
Yep.
well, nobody's going to be here Sunday morning.
Please don't
So
remind
that-
me. Please don't remind me, because yesterday, as we were trying to stream Good Friday.
Yeah, and I almost scheduled it for Friday. I was like, I better not do that either.
Yep.
So.
But as we were trying to stream, for whatever reason, my dad forgot to add the audio source to OBS, so ended up streaming the whole mass without audio.
Mm. Yeah.
That was
Well,
weird.
welcome to our world, right?
Yeah.
How many times have I done that? I mean, I've read that's not that bad with streaming, because the people in the live stream will tell you, "Hey, dude, we can't hear you." But what really sucks is when you spend an hour or 2 hours recording content, like a pre-recorded video that you're going to chop up and edit, but you never went back and previewed any of the clips you recorded until you go to edit, and then you realize there's no sound.
Yep.
That's a bad day.
That is a bad day.
Because you just wasted all of that time. You got to go back and redo everything. So. Or even worse, I had a situation one time where I started recording an interview with someone. I forget who it was. It's the early days of the channel. So it's me one-on-one with somebody. And luckily I checked the audio after a few minutes, you know, because we're going to pause for a bathroom break or grab a bottle of water or something. I went back and recorded it. It's like, oh, I'm not recording his audio. It's just my audio. Luckily, I caught that before we went 2 hours for an interview. And then I realized I didn't record him.
you are not unique in that situation with people.
Yes.
I mean, it's a thing.
Yeah. Always. Yeah. Check things out before you do a test run. Yeah. Some web user is asking, are we doing these on Saturdays now? No, this is just for this month, for Easter Sunday is tomorrow. And it would have been a bad time for all the US guys here. So.
1 second. Oh, shut up about that. I know. The OBS lately, not you, it's OBS. I've been having an issue lately with OBS where it just gives me NVENC encoder error.
Huh.
Yeah. Just, the OBS people received countless reports about that. But the problem is, and here's the funny part, you reboot your computer on the third or fourth reboot, it works.
It
When you
works.
reboot again, it stops working.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it. It's
Well, you know, OBS completely quit working for me on my previous installation before I did the fresh install. That was one of the programs that was all of a sudden just, it didn't want to act right. And now it's fine.
yeah. And the native version that doesn't have anything enabled and that you have to compile yourself and whatever.
That's what I'm running.
Yeah, it works.
That's what I'm running.
It works without issue, but the Flatpak is not working. And I'm not gonna move all my configurations to the native, especially that I'm using browser sources. I'm not gonna compile the Chromium browser source. That's a nightmare and a half.
I realized the other day that I don't have a single snap or a single Flatpak installed on the system yet, which is weird because I've got nothing against them. I just haven't had the need. Everything out of the Arch repos is working.
Well, you don't use browser source, so for your use
I did. I had it on the previous installation. I just didn't bother with it on this one.
Yeah, because you have to compile it, and that takes an hour or so because it's using the Chromium engine.
Mm-hmm. It's not that bad, and it's a one-time thing. It's not like something that you got to keep up to date or anything.
I'll be right back because I just enabled my virtual camera. I need to restart the Zoom for it to take.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, where is Zoom? Zoom exit.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a problem when I was trying to log into Zoom this morning because I only use Zoom once a month, essentially, for these. And it doesn't recognize this computer every time I log in. It doesn't matter if I log in tomorrow or whatever. I get the IP address probably changes on the network here. And if it doesn't recognize your computer, then you have to get a security code emailed to you. You got to enter the code. Then for security reasons, it's been a while since you changed your password. You won't reset your password. And
it's an endless loop.
Yeah, it's like takes 5 minutes to log into. And it's not just Zoom. There's so many programs like that nowadays where you can't just enter user and pass and get in.
And
it's all of this headache to get in.
Yeah, and you get the stuff for the authenticator apps too.
Yeah,
that's required. And
open authenticator on your phone. Well, I'm not on my phone. I'm on this computer. Right.
Finally, my camera worked. What do you think about this setup?
It's very flashy.
I'm a flashy person. You could tell from my ex distro, Zero Linux. Well, I decided this is just the intro and outro of my videos. It's not going to be throughout the video because it's way too flashy to stick around for 15 minutes. But
it's a lot of movement.
Yeah.
It's a lot of movement. And if the penguin moved, I think it'd be better.
What do you mean by move?
The penguin should be animated in some way.
It should blink every once in a while.
Yeah, blink. That's exactly where I was going.
I could find it. I can find an animated GIF. Yeah, that's a good idea. And because I like purple, it had to be purple,
right?
But yeah, I'm working on a design that is not boring because I did 3 videos so far, and I found that the frame was where my face was way too big. They could see all the hairs on my chin and everything. So I was like, why don't I distract them with something that's moving around me? So,
yeah. Well, and everyone in the YouTube chat wish Hip Dad a happy birthday.
Oh, it's his birthday. I'm not looking at.
Hey, Hip just Dad. Let us know in the chat. Yeah.
Happy birthday, Hip Dad. You old geezer. Love you. By the way, DT, I want to mention something. Since we both are Arch Linux users,
Let's go ahead and get the complaints out of the way.
No complaints. Absolutely no complaints. On the contrary, it's going to be something that I discovered about Arch install. Arch install is not doing anything wrong. I was one of the people that complained about the way they do things, but when I talked,
like the automatic partitioning and
that and the profiles mainly. It's mainly the profiles,
the desktop profiles.
Yeah, they're missing a lot of packages, and one of the profiles that needs a lot of work and attention is the Hyperland profile. But I think they'll get to it when they'll get to it. It's not their job to do everything for the user, and I agree to that. But I was able to benefit because now, apparently, they allow you to skip the profile section completely. And when you skip it, it's going to default to the minimal profile. It's going to default to that. The way I install Arch now is basically I go through the Arch install, skipping the profiles in the additional packages section. It installs the minimal profile, and then it asks you to Arch to root, right? At the end of the installation. So I say yes, and I created a script.
Well, it doesn't. It asks you, do you want to?
Do you want to?
You don't have to root, right?
Yeah,
unless you're adding extra packages. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I did was I was like, what if I install Plasma that way in root? So I created a script that installs my selected packages of Plasma, not the entire Plasma or the minimal Plasma profile. I created my own set of packages from Plasma. It will also install my Nvidia drivers for my system, do the necessary stuff for the MKinit CPIO modules and the modprobe modules for Wayland, install Peru, enable parallel downloads, add my repository, and do a slew of things. And once all that's done, and all that is unattended, I just run. I turned it into a curl command. I paste the curl command in there, hit enter, and it's all unattended. Once it's done, it will tell you exit and reboot. And once that's okay, I have a working system. All I have to do now is just install the selected flatpaks that I use. That's it.
Well, I mean, that's one way to do things. Or you could install Arco or Endeavor. Or
no. Yeah, Garuda, this is what I'm saying.
Jaro. Like if you're having to do all that with the automated Arch install script, at that point, you're really not.
There is a reason he does it.
Yes, because I want things my way. This is number one, because I want things my way.
Then why not just do the command line installation?
Because the profiles are not my profiles. I don't want to do things post install. I do them during the Arch install way. But it's a nerd. I'm gonna call it the nerdy way of doing things. I like it, and the reason I do it also is because that way I am sure that during installation I'm gonna have the latest packages.
No. Well, you enjoy doing that.
Yeah, I do. I do. I discovered a whole new way of installing Arch. Arco mentioned Arizer, mentioned Alice. It's kind of similar to these two things, but there is an attended way of doing things, Arch install. But beyond Arch install, I can do everything unattended via my script, my tailored to me script.
Mm-hmm.
I also remember
with command line installations
from reason. I remember you said it's another reason that Arch itself seemed to be more stable than any I saw based on Arch.
Well, no, I never said that. Come on, Big Pod.
I don't know about that.
You said that.
Everybody has. What I did say is that everybody has their way of doing things. This is my way of doing it. This is just my way. But because I'm a nerd and I'm a scripting nerd specifically, I love creating scripts. I don't know what it is about scripting, bash scripting. It's a newfound love that I found. It's like I cannot do anything without having to script it. And that's the reason why I will be starting a scripting series where I teach everyone how to create scripts to make everything easier.
Very cool.
Yeah. And Arch install helped me learn all that because I dug into Arch install. Actually, it's all Python. And when I reached the profile section,
it's just a Python script.
Yeah.
Which will be your next evolution. Once you finish bash scripting, you're going to start diving into Python scripting.
Yeah, definitely.
Then eventually Big Pod's going to turn you into a C# programmer.
No, but there's another thing. Is I discovered that I can create, like, I'm not going to make it public. That's never going to be public, but that's for me. It's another way of shipping Zero Linux, the distro, without using Calamares. I can ship all my custom settings and what I used to ship on Zero Linux via just a bash script, a curl command.
You know what? One thing I will say about Arch Linux, the one thing that Arch Linux gets right, command line installations are the right way to go.
Yep.
Because it's, as a distro maintainer, it's just the right way to go. Instead of fooling with an installer, whether it be a graphical installer or Incurse's installer, man, just everybody launch fdisk. Partition the drive with fdisk, right? Start there and then, make the file system, just go through the steps yourself.
You
and
learn a lot.
No,
I learned a lot
no,
doing
no,
it that
no,
way.
no. Again, this,
Shots fired.
I'm gonna say this really. We should meet users where they are, not where we want them to be. That's
No.
first rule.
I'm not talking about users.
I didn't say it was the best for users. It was the best for maintainers of the distribution to go that route.
Great, but that doesn't matter what's the best for maintainers.
Dude,
Well, it does, because
maintainers
there's a lot of
should
people
meet.
that quit maintaining their distributions because they've become an unmanageable mess at some point.
Yes, but that's a standard issue of how do you manage your distro. You should drop as much as fat as you can. Problem is that
No,
most people actually,
RTFM. That's all you need to tell them, Big Pod.
no,
RTFM.
no. You should always meet users.
No,
as a
here's the thing.
maintainer,
Here's the
as
thing,
a
Big
developer,
Pod.
should always meet users where they are, not where you want them to be. Because where you want them to be is always wrong. Sorry. That's
No.
why Windows is more successful than Linux. That's why what's it called Chrome OS. That's why Android. That's why
Oh,
iPhone. That's why Mac OS. All of them are more successful than
Big
Linux.
Pod, I
because-
will meet you. I will meet you halfway. Big Pod, I will meet you halfway. I met someone recently on Mastodon that describes exactly what you're talking about. The type of users you're talking about.
That's
And
99% of the users.
yeah,
Sorry.
exactly.
So
So
anything else doesn't matter.
all
to-
what
to
what I
most
talked
people.
about doesn't matter.
we
What I
call those
talked
the
about,
normies.
here's the thing. It's not for normies. It's for people like us who are geeks who like to get their hands dirty in their distro. There's a lot of us. This is for us. This is our niche way of doing things because we want to learn. We're hungry for knowledge. We're hungry for tweaking the system. We hunger for all that kind of thing. For the normie, we discovered, and I'm gonna say this, and it goes against my way of thinking because I'm a geek. I'm a true Linux geek. When I had to recommend Ubuntu to someone because they wanted GNOME specifically, and they wanted to click, install, and use the app. They didn't want to, and they specifically mentioned we don't want to learn. We don't have time to learn. We don't have time to waste to fix this issue and that issue and whatever. We need to be productive. The whole point of us using Linux is because it's open source. I can talk to people. They can help me, but I don't want to be the one doing the troubleshooting.
No, you put people like that on Ubuntu LTS, and
Yep.
you say, "Hey, I'll see you in 2 years to update the system for you every 2 years," and that's all you do.
That's why BigPod is correct in a lot of what he says. 99% of the users, they come to Linux, number one, because it looks good. It looks damn sexy compared to their Mac OS and Windows. And
especially
it's
now.
and it's open source, and
yeah.
they can contact the developers. They can contact the community. They can contact a lot of people. They can be part of something. That's the whole reason they come to Linux. 99% of the people don't want to bother troubleshooting or doing anything like exactly what happened now with XZ, basically.
Well, that's XZ. That's
But Arch fixed it less than an hour later.
And I wondered the other day, I was doing my updates, and I always pay attention to the packages that are being updated. And I saw XZ got a update. I was like, that's a package that doesn't get frequent updates that often. Then the next day I get another one. I was like, well, that's weird. 2 days, what's going on here?
Yep.
Yeah,
Arch immediately
supply chain
released
attack.
an update fix, a fixed update.
Supply chain attack. Great.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah, because that
apparently
freaked
it's
people
by
out.
one of the maintainers of the package.
Yes,
because
yes.
he's sick of something.
Well, that's usually, yes.
That is why I will always maintain the position. If it's open source, it doesn't mean it's secure.
And this was actually going to be one of the main topics for today was what happened with XZ, with its packaging. Also a very hot topic of debate the last month or two really, were malware being packaged in the Snap store. We've also had some issues in the past with people distributing flat packs and app images that had things in it. We've also had a lot of issues with the AUR, which, to be fair, the AUR doesn't pretend to curate anything. I mean, they have moderators, But the AUR actually up front says, please don't use this. Here it is. We know you're going to use it. Please don't use it. But
or use it at your own risk. Basically, that's what happened with one of the users and an old Plasma 5 theme on Plasma 6 too.
Is that the one that deleted his file system?
Yeah, not
Yeah.
file system, his home directory.
Home directory. Well, I mean, it's
Might as well go with his.
might as well,
entire
yeah,
system.
because you lost all your user data. That's essentially all the important stuff. But this comes up it seems like once a year. For a couple of weeks, we have this debate where somebody finds some malware packaged in some Linux repository, whether it's an official repository, a third-party repository, whatever it happens to be. And then who is responsible for this? And why is it this way? Why can't we solve this problem? How does this malware get into this stuff? And I don't think people understand that if you have a system where contributors can package things and submit it to something, you're never going to solve this problem. Like, you're never going to catch everything. Even if you have trusted moderators that are supposed to curate everything, even if they could do that job, which they can't, even if they could, what happens when the curator decides to do something scandalous?
Yeah.
Right. There's always going to be people empowered to do these kinds of...
that source code, even if it's open, because it's open source, blah, blah, source code that you personally didn't read or somebody you actually truly trust, it's exactly the same like it's proprietary. Sorry to say, but to you it's proprietary. You do not know what's going on with the code. That's the main proposition of open source. You would know what's going on with the code. No, you don't. But you haven't tried it.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to that too, because I think about this every once in a while when I have a computing existential crisis. I think about, okay, well, if it's open source and there's millions of lines of code, but you have a user base of only like 10 people, on a GitHub, thing, it's like, okay, well, who's auditing that code?
Exactly.
Well,
this is the problem of KDE. They're not auditing anything that's being posted on the store.
That's like Ubuntu with the snaps on the Snap store.
Yeah, but Snaps also has this issue, but that with Snaps that issue is slightly less problematic because they're just a delivery layer.
Right.
It's much more because you should be aware that there could be problems.
I also think
much more problematic if it was Ubuntu repos.
Right. That you have to trust the repository, the core repository.
Yeah, and
you don't have to trust the third-party repositories. Right.
Yeah, but I should tell you, like, basically all the traditional package managers, if somebody malicious actually decided they could delete your whole file system without actually trying, just one command, and I could do it with any package. So any third-party repo you decide that is using traditional package manager.
Well, you've given your distribution maintainers, you've given the distribution maintainers and that package manager, you've already given them.
You already given them implicit trust by installing it.
I mean, you've given them root access to everything just by installing it. So you have to trust them.
But as soon as you give to any package repository other than, I don't know, your default Ubuntu repositories, if you use a PPA or some random third-party repository.
Yeah, PPAs are different because
you've given them a root access to your computer as well.
Well, you have to be smart as a computer user. Like if I go to the Snap store and I install the Spotify client, I know that the Spotify billion-dollar corporation guys, they package that thing themselves. I know it's there. I have no problem trusting that. But Billy Bob's, Sudoku game that's sitting in the Snap store, that's probably a Bitcoin miner, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
They just don't install that thing.
It puts the pseudo in Sudoku.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you how I do things because I think it's actually a good rule. So when it comes to desktop, I don't really install anything new anyway because I have my tool set. But for a lot of new tools I do is in servers, unless it's made by a big corp company, or a like major startup. Let's say, for example, Uber. If Uber has a couple of years made something called Temporal, I would install that. I wouldn't install basically same service made by one guy somewhere in I don't know, Germany.
Right.
Because I will give more trust to Uber than I would give some random guy in Germany or
Right.
wherever.
I can trust big corporations that are packaging up proprietary software because I know
have
what their
more-
game is.
they
They want
have
me
more
to buy
skin
their
in the game.
service. Yeah,
They have
want
more
me to
skin
buy
in the
their
game.
service. That's how they're using me. Where some random person that packages something, I don't know what he's getting out of it. He may be trying to use me in some weird way where he's, taking over my
Yeah.
computer and, mining Ethereum or whatever the hell he's doing.
Even if it's open source, it doesn't really matter for me.
Right.
The catch is that Temporal is very much open source. It's made. It was made by Uber. Now it's maintained by community.
Right.
The catch is Uber has reputation to protect. They have
Correct.
their reputation on the line. Some random guy, he can make a new GitHub, and he's back to where it was. He can make a new thing. And that's
the problem with the problem with the KDE store is like Brody put it. They're putting it under the KDE domain. So normies are gonna think automatically, it's in the KDE. It's on this KDE store. We need to trust it because
it's implicit trust again.
It's vetted by the KDE.
This is
people.
where I think we have to separate some of these repositories. Like there's a difference between the core repositories of your distribution. And I do think like the Snap Store and FlatHub, yeah, they're not official, but they're pretty close. Like they're a different level of trust than the KDE store where you go download themes for Plasma.
But at least
like
they have that containerization thing to protect you at this tiny bit.
Yeah. So I wouldn't put things like the KDE store on that level. Like you should never trust anything from a place like that.
Yeah, that's the argument they're using, and I was just watching earlier the David Edmondson interview with Brody. They need to move. He suggested that they need to move the KDE store to a separate non-KDE domain, so people can differentiate it as a third party, not as an official thing by the KDE developers. Because if they leave it there, people, normies, are going to think automatically, it's by KDE, so we can trust it.
Well, there's a liability issue there, though, too, to kind of separate themselves from it, because in that way it doesn't put the foundation at risk. So I mean,
install all of my
will
themes.
Still name it, but yeah.
I install all my themes from the AUR. So I mean, I'm doubly.
No,
screwed.
you're doubly. Yeah, you're doubly. And here's the thing with the method you're doing it. Some themes will not correctly apply everything like accent colors, like icon colors, because they are in the user share folder instead of the home directory where it's supposed to be. That's why my only rice, the Lion rice, installs the theme straight from source, because Vinci Luce has an install script in his for his theme. You just run the install script with a few flags, and it will install straight from source. I never install from AUR or anywhere else.
Well, the reason Arch packaging does that is Pacman does not allow you to touch a user's home directory.
That's good.
Pacman and AUR. Pacman and AUR. They run everything as root.
Actually, they can't touch home directory. Actually,
they cannot. They're not allowed to. This is part of.
Not just allowed to. It's actually how the packaging technology works. You cannot just touch some random home directory because I don't know why.
And it's not just the Pacman. It's pretty much all package managers. They should never touch a user's home directory.
Exactly. That's why I would highly. And if anyone here watching or listening likes to rice their system, always get your themes straight from source and check the code beforehand. That's what I do. That's why I trust only one man, because he's got amazing themes. He's been doing it for a long time. He's got amazing themes that a lot of people love. He's got the Mac OS Big Sur theme. He's got the Tela Circle icon pack, one of the best icon packs out there that I've been using for 3 years, and the best theme ever, Lay-In, that I've been using for 4 years as well.
Yeah, the Lay-In's all right, but I prefer White Sir. That one. Is that the one you're
the Mac OS one? You're gonna go blind?
Yeah, but it does resemble the Mac.
Yeah, it does. If you pair it with the correct icon pack, you basically have a Mac. But it's not simple. You have to also fix the panel and add the right widgets and everything. It takes a little bit to rice. Take it from a guy who started his Linux journey by ricing. It takes a lot of effort. That's why I don't rice anymore. That's why I've been using the same exact rice. I just modify it here and there. And there is a widget on the KDE store. I checked the code after what happened. I checked the code, but it's one heck of a plasmoid. It's called Control Center. It gives you quick settings, kind of like Apple, Mac OS, exactly like Apple. If you use Big Sur with that, the layout will be exactly the same. So I pair that with App Datafire. App Datafire, you no longer need PAMAC. You no longer need any package manager or notifier tool, whatever, because whenever there's an update, it tells you there's an update, and you click it, it'll update your system. It supports Flatpak, AUR, and native. I like.
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, I do everything with installing and removing software in the terminal anyway. I typically don't use tools like PAMAC or whatnot.
Yeah.
But on Arch, there's so many issues with PAMAC.
Yeah. That's exactly the reason I got rid of it.
Like literally, you would make your life 10 times easier if you're an Arch user and you need a graphical package manager. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Yeah, Octopi I guess would be the better option, but PAMAC is going to cause you so many headaches. Just learn how to use Pacman in the terminal.
Yeah, the major issue with PAMAC is database synchronization.
It's always broken. It's just the package.
Because and I can easily explain why. It was built for Manjaro. The forks that were made to work on Arch
are not
official. They're made by fans of the application. And
Philip, because the Manjaro guys are not packaging it for the AUR. They got their own repositories that they're packaging it for.
Exactly. Right. And when I was using it on Zero Linux, I was packaging it straight from Manjaro. But again, Philip explicitly told me, we are packaging it for Manjaro. And Manjaro is not Arch. It's Arch-like, and it does things differently than Arch. The only resemblance with Arch is it uses Pacman.
Yeah, there really isn't a GUI package manager that you could really use with Arch. I mean, we talked about Octopi if you want that old school,
it's made to be
synaptic package manager kind of. Yeah, but I like Octopi. But
Arch is it's a terminal centric.
But you're not going to find like that mobile phone app store experience on Arch Linux. You're not going to have anything like that.
No. So basically, Arch is if you want to use Arch the way Arch intended it to be, you must be friends with terminal. You gotta fall in love with terminal and have a relationship with the terminal. This is the best way I can describe it, because I haven't touched a GUI package manager in 9 months. Ever since I discovered this widget, now ported to Plasma 6, I haven't needed a GUI package manager at all.
In the chat, Joseph was asking about GNOME software and KDE's Discover. Should they be fine on Arch? I'm going to ask Zero Linux because he uses those desktop environments. I don't. How are they?
I will explain one thing. With
how
GNOME
is Discover on Arch?
Discover on Arch. Right now on Plasma 6, you open it, you try to search, it crashes. So it has never been a good experience. That's why Terminal is still your best friend. And as for GNOME software will never allow you to install utilities, tweaks, system tweaks, and stuff like that, like weather widgets or widgets, themes.
Yeah, like the extensions. Or is that what
extensions, terminals, or terminal applications and stuff like that. It will not allow you.
A terminal?
Why would it not?
No. I said terminal tweaks, not terminals.
Okay. I'm about to say, because I know GNOME comes with a terminal, so why wouldn't it allow you?
Yeah.
No, you will find terminals as in terminals, but I'm talking about, packages. Let's say, I'm going to give you an example, WTTR for the weather, for example.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Or the clock, the terminal clock.
You're talking about TTY clock?
TTY clock, yeah.
Yeah.
And all these kind of things, you won't find them in the GNOME software center.
Unless they're packaged in a repository it can access.
No.
Yeah.
I had my repository. I had those applications on my repositories and I had 0G, the GNOME Software Center could not see those packages. It can only see GUI applications.
It
But
can
does
see
it-
anything because it doesn't actually know what's the difference.
And
Unless I'm gonna tell you what it is. You didn't have AppStream correctly set up.
No, I did. And
Then
I
it should have
installed
seen
GNOME,
it.
the entire GNOME stack, and I had it all set up correctly. It does
AppStream
not.
on your repo, not those packages didn't have the correct information.
Because how does Manjaro, how does Garuda make all of this work? I mean, there's got to be a way to make it work.
No, Garuda
Because on those
uses a terminal.
distributions,
No,
on
Garuda uses
Manjaro, you have to use a terminal?
no, not Manjaro, Garuda. Garuda, they're more terminal centric. Manjaro, they have
But they
Pamac.
they
have
with,
Pamac.
oh, that's right. Yeah,
Steve,
they are.
Steve,
using
tell
Pamac.
me
You're right.
how would GNOME Software Center know that application is GUI?
Dude, they have their own package kit. They have their own thing. I cannot create other repositories cannot create their own package kits unless they are.
Yes, they can.
They can, but unless they're standalone distributions. But when you add a repo to pacman.conf, the GNOME Software Center will not see the contents of those repositories.
That might be a limitation of how it is on Arch. I know on Ubuntu it works.
Well, I don't know how.
Fedora it works.
Yeah, of course, because they have.
So
the
that
PPAs.
might be a limitation of
That's
how it's
probably
integrated in ALPM.
Yeah, they have their own ALPM. They have their own hooks into the GNOME Software Center. But for third-party distros
that's
like
the
Zero
limitation.
Linux, Arco Linux,
what that
You
is.
have to have
that's
your
a-
own fork of GNOME software because
we need to create our own
limited by implementation of
Yes.
ALPM.
Well, it's-
100%.
It's different on
Again,
Debian compared
problem
to
of
Arch because
Arch.
Debian has a real package manager called apt, and Arch has,
Yes.
you know, I'm just saying, that's where he was
Has
going
a
with it.
has a library that is half package manager called ALPM.
Yeah, we know that. We know that.
It is
So if
pretty
you go
good at
Arco
what
Linux,
it does, but it does that really crappily.
whatever Arch-based distro, not independent. I'm talking about Arch-based distros that rely on Arch upstream, like Arco Linux, Zero Linux, and Endeavor OS and whatnot. If you select their GNOME versions, the GNOME software, and install the GNOME Software Center, you're never going to see the contents of their repositories in GNOME Software Center because, as you said, Big Pod, we need to create our own fork of GNOME Software Center, or specifically the package kit that it hooks into, and include our repositories in that.
So that it can probably properly read all the stuff, which it currently
Correct.
can't because it's limited in its ability
Yes,
to
correct.
be very basic. Again, Arch
That's why the
problems.
bigger distros can do that because they have their own team who is working on their version of GNOME Software Center or package kit.
No, they don't have a big team.
Not a big team, but a team, a few people working on it.
Even that they don't have. What they have is their package managers are properly integrated into, not a half measure like on Arch.
Or you can just do like Manjaro. We're not going to use GNOME Software Center. We're just going to create our own. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
they
just-
use Pamac.
Yeah.
So yeah, either or. But what I wanted to say is, when it comes to all this trust thing, when it comes to packages, as it happened with XZ and the AUR packages and everything, it's all the same thing applies to Arch repositories, main repositories. People should trust those packages, and in those you have to. It's not like the AUR. You can click a button. You have immediate access to the PKG build. You have to go to Arch's GitHub or GitLab now and find the PKG build there. They don't put a direct link on the package description to the PKG build. You'll have to find it because
You're talking about the packages in the actual repository, the core repositories?
the core repository.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because on the AUR, it's right there in the right pane.
Yeah.
It says PKG build.
Right.
On the core
On the regular
repositories-
builds, they don't. They hide that from you because
Yeah.
I've searched for them before.
Yeah,
They're out there. You can go find the package builds.
I found them.
Yeah.
Found them. If you dig deep enough, you'll find them. I know how to access them, but you have to be a geek to do so. Not everyone
but
will
they
find
don't
them.
put it right there on the page when you search the repos.
Yeah,
There's not a
and there's
link.
no way to comment on a broken package. You can just label out of date and hope to God they fix it.
Well, I mean, all of that should just be an automated process. They should know whether the binary built correctly or not. So
Sometimes a few broken packages do slip through the cracks.
yeah,
Because the way that it works, according to what I've heard, one of the package maintainers say is we send the package to a couple of people, part of the team. If it works for them, they label it works for me. They wait for another 2 people. Once they have 3 people that label it as working for them, they ship it to the core repository. But maybe there's a 4th or 5th person where it doesn't, for whom it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So things like that will still slip through. So it's a whole trust issue. Plus the fact that Arch, in order to get your package on the core on the Arch core repositories, you have to they sign it. All packages are signed. When like people like me inject, because my toolkit now injects my repository into their pacman.conf in order to install the actual toolkit. I don't sign my packages, but not everyone knows what package signing is. So, and I do give them access. It's my repository is not on GitHub or GitLab. It's on a web host. I give them a link and they can check the packages, install or try them in a VM, whatever. If they want to, if they care so much about security, they can go check the packages. Even I give them access to the script codes. They can,
a lot of people made fun of Arch for a long time. A lot of people said that Arch was a insecure distribution because Arch, well after everybody else was signing packages, Arch didn't do it until really just a few years ago.
Yeah.
It became the default was signing their packages.
And
I understand why now, because the keyring and that whole situation is such a mess. It causes so many headaches for users.
Yeah.
At the end,
any repository that's signed will have key issues, because
not as much.
I'll tell you why.
No, I've never had a key issue on a Debian-based distribution.
Yeah, the problem is that on Arch you have 15,000 keys.
Right. It's
for the main repo. For the main repo, you have so many keys, it's insane.
And if you want to revoke privileges for somebody or revoke their key, then you've got to push out that update. And it's a mess.
When you have a root key with which you distribute, which you can then do many other things with based on that.
The problem is not actually with the keys; it's with the key servers, because Arch's key servers are so messed up. They revert. Yes. They always revert back to the Ubuntu GPG key server.
Well, that's because the Ubuntu key server is about the only GPG key server still in existence that actually has good uptime, that actually works most of the time. Yep. All the other ones are pretty much died over the years.
Also, GPG is kind of annoying and unuser friendly. So
I mean, it's not the best. It's not the best form of encryption, but it's what we have.
Yeah. We should probably have something better by now.
Well, we need to have the GNU guys come up with something different.
Why GNU? Why not?
I mean, they were the ones that did GPG. Surely they could fix whatever issues. I mean, they're already doing something.
I would much rather that somebody who has somebody like Red Hat or some other company like that does it.
Oh,
right. Yeah, like a corporate solution for the problem. Google. Have
open source, actually, all the things. Open source.
We should just have Google do everything for us.
Yeah.
Why did it be more?
Yeah, we need Google to have our keys.
Google could host the key server for us. I trust Google.
Also, that I'm talking about the actual standard, because only like a corporate entity would have enough money, enough skin in the game to actually
pull it off.
To actually developing a good standard and then actually doing enough to test it on with the actual security expert, paying people who can actually do proper penetration testing and all that.
But isn't
Yeah.
GPG kind of a standard? I mean, it's
Yes, but it's extremely bad.
I understand it's old technology at this point, and it's clunky, especially when you're dealing with like encrypted emails. If you're using GPG for that, man, it's horrible.
Good user experience. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We need good user experience. That's why somebody else.
I'll tell you what we need, and you won't hear this from me very often, Big Pod. We need a good GUI front end for GPG, especially when you're encrypting files or encrypting emails.
That would also help, but there is so many problems.
When you have to do these weird cryptic commands in the terminal, that's why nobody encrypts anything. It's only people like you and me, would encrypt something if we got to jump through those kinds of hoops. We need a button we can push. Just a GUI, like a GUI file manager that I can right click, get the context menu, encrypt this file, and boom.
Everything needs a GUI.
Right.
Derek,
Sorry.
I've found,
I hear Murray.
Yeah, I found GNU Privacy Assistant. GPA is a graphical user interface for GNU PG. There's
Privacy Assistance. Let's see.
There's GNU PG shell and GPG front end.
Ah. And that is actually from GNUPG.org, so it is the GPG site, and so I guess they make the GUI tool. Okay.
I just stumbled across it.
Well, that would be good that it's actually them making that tool. Let's see.
That'll be interesting. Why isn't it?
I might play with that off camera when we're done today. I may give that a spin just to see if it works. That's it.
That's why I keep an Arch VM to test everything on. I clone it, test everything in the clone, and then delete the clone.
Yeah.
That's the best way of testing things. Since I test a lot of scripts these days, I keep on cloning that thing over and over and over and over again. I must have cloned it over 1,000 times in the past few months.
And I did want to, the chat, we just briefly kind of glossed over the whole thing with XZ. For those that haven't been following or don't know what XZ is, because we just assume everybody knows what we're talking about. XZ is a compression utility. Yeah.
But it's a compression standard.
Right.
And has utilities that got breached by a apparently long-time maintainer.
Yeah, but it was giving access to your machine. If you had SSH enabled, then it basically had a backdoor that was enabled.
On certain distros, specifically certain packages, it basically added some sort of backdoor to SSH, which was, if it was, I believe, managed by systemd, it created a backdoor that skipped authentication altogether. So even before access layer to enter password, you're
already in.
Prompted it correctly, you would be already into the system.
Right. And this is not going to affect most desktop computer. Like if you're a normie, which we called a normie earlier, you don't have SSH enabled on your machine anyway, so you were never at risk. But on servers, especially, this is a very big deal.
Yes.
So,
we were extremely lucky that a guy, I believe, who works at Microsoft was working on some testing for Postgres and accidentally found that SSH was using way too much RAM, too much CPU than it should be. So
he reported it upstream,
looking into it, and found that there was something wrong, and then it went on the security forums and all that, and they got what was wrong, and now everybody is having.
So basically, LTS distros that ship an old outdated version of 5.4 or before,
they were never at risk. Yeah.
They were never at risk.
Anything that uses some sort of
your Debian server was never going to be affected by this.
No.
Your 10-year-old CentOS server you're still running was never going to be affected. So
just started, just rolls on along. So
no, but here's
rawhides and
here's what
like
Debian did. Here's what Ubuntu did. Debian did. Sorry, Debian testing and Debian SID. They kept the same name, the same versions, 5.6.1, but they included the actual 5.4 package inside it.
The name of the package is exeutils. Version is 5.6 dash really 5.4.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
really, 5.4.
Yeah, because that's the only way. That's the only way. Deep apt and deep package would actually allow it to
allow
update
it because you can't downgrade. You can't ship out a earlier version number.
How database works,
Yeah.
you cannot just go back. You have to
Yeah.
actually have at least one build high, and that's what that actually like it increases the build number.
You confuse the package manager when you start rolling the numbers back.
No, the database just won't work. That's how the database works. It goes.
It's incremental. It's incremental, not
incremental
only. It automatically
incremental
increments
only.
it.
Yeah.
It's incremental only. It cannot decrement.
Yeah.
So the package manager, the database, how they work, basically you can only increment the number to update. You cannot go back.
So yeah, but
Or
the
you can
really
rename it.
really part really
Yeah.
is kind
Well,
of weird.
if you rename it, you won't get installed. You will need to then still increment it and tell the package manager that you need to actually install that one as it's a replacement.
Yeah.
It's a whole mess.
But
Well,
for
it's
normies,
all-
they would not.
Apt shows its years.
Yeah.
Apt
Well, luckily
package
for
shows its
most desktop computer users, this is not an issue at all. And for servers,
years. And
because
for
most
servers,
people
it's not an issue at all.
most people are running stable distributions like Debian, Ubuntu.
Who would run
LTS,
Rawhide or Arch?
Who in the hell's running
Linux?
Arch Linux as a like? I know there's Arch servers out there. I've seen them, but if you're doing that, you're a little crazy anyway.
Yeah.
The problem was.
So you're calling me
that-
crazy?
Yes. Yes.
Or that guy that does the Gentoo servers. You guys know that he joins us sometimes on these chats.
Yeah, I know him.
Right? I don't understand that one at all. A Gentoo server.
Gentoo just
I
masked-
understand him. I understand why he does it.
Well,
Or why he did it. I understand why and now again, yes I do. But before
No, but
in a small period of time I didn't.
Gentoo masked all the versions beyond 5.4.2.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That was
they did
simple
it.
fix for them.
They did it smart. They just said, hey, anything beyond 5.4.2. We know that 5.4.3, 5.4.5 or whatever are not affected. But heck, we'll just mask everything. We'll stick to a very old version.
And I think this one really underscored what was a year and a half of my life that I had a job. I was in supply chain security. Yeah. Really underscored what I was doing, that it was a right thing to do. We need more, especially in open source, we need more look into supply chain security, especially on the contributor side and packager side. We need more of that.
Well, that is 100% true, because in the past couple of months,
More people.
we had more vulnerabilities, CVEs, than we had in the past 4 or 5 years combined.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on with Linux? So people, the hackers realized, hey, more people are using Linux. Let's attack those. Let's attack them.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to become a bigger problem as usage goes up. So
Yeah.
Well, that's another sign that, I often get questions like, is Linux really growing as far as market share? Or the numbers we hear it grows from 2% to 3%. Now, some studies, we might even have 4% of the desktop market share.
Wow.
And I do think some of the security issues we run into are part of the growing pains.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be a thing.
We are, and that reinforces the.
I think the Steam Deck is a big part of why we've gained a lot here recently, like in the last year or two.
Yep, gaming basically
right.
in general, but that
and just the whole gaming
point.
industry also brings with it a lot of headaches because always the biggest threat as far as malware and people downloading hacks onto their machines is always gamers going and downloading things they shouldn't.
And I'm gonna say something that I discovered lately, and that's gone to blow people's minds. Is more and more piracy is being available on Linux.
How so?
I'll give you a very simple. Example. Sublime Text. There's a crack for that.
Okay.
There is a crack on GitHub, not somewhere weird. It's just
But
on
is that
GitHub.
is that really a Linux problem? Sublime's cross-platform.
No, it's a crack for the Linux version. For the specifically the Linux version
So that particular hack is only going to work on Linux. It wouldn't work on
it doesn't
Mac
work
or,
anywhere else. It's
Okay.
it's a terminal script that replaces the binary with a hacked binary, where and it makes it so when you go to register and ask you for a code, you just put my cat is blonde. It will accept it as a code, and it will tell you it's registered. So they're hacking the binary.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of. I mean that kind of piracy. I don't think is ever
You don't know
going to be.
you don't know what's in the binary.
No, you're putting yourself at risk. Yeah, that's exactly where I was about to go. Is as most people. Why do you need a cracked version of an IDE when there's so many? Like, if you don't want to pay for an IDE, there's so many free ones. Like, there's a million IDEs on Linux. I mean, most developers.
There are some people. Use
Linux at least in some capacity. We got all the IDEs.
Well,
so I mean,
I'm gonna disagree there. So there is a very simple reason why would you wanna use specific IDE, because IDE, especially for someone like me, I'm a developer. For me, IDE is basically equal to GNOME to my browser. It's basically I want it to be exactly what I want it to be. So for someone, it might be Sublime Text might be exactly what they want it to be. So
exactly what I was going to say.
But if you're taking that piece of software that serious, like for a job, why wouldn't you? You'd purchase it.
No, dude. It is, if they're asking $99 a year for it.
Yeah, but that's everything is like that now.
Yeah.
Everything's subscription based. Everything's on a yearly plan or a monthly plan. And
granted, but you got to take into account that people don't get paid as much as they used to back in the day.
No, trust me, I know.
So on grounded to rational being in chat. Yeah, JetBrains is available for Linux, but someone who would be a perfect candidate for JetBrains tool, specifically JetBrains Rider, which is C# IDE. Honestly, VS Code, I like VS Code more.
Yeah.
And even though Rider is definitely better at being C# IDE than VS Code, I like VS Code better.
Here's another thing.
Because it's one tool to rule them all for every language I do.
Here's the thing. There's also a crack for JetBrains to allow you to do some of the things that are blocked.
I actually have JetBrains. Like I can install it right now. It's paid for me. Like I have it. Yeah. I just don't use it.
But it's paid for you. But not everyone wants to pay the money, to fork up the money. So there's also a crack for that on GitHub. So basically, what I'm saying is Linux is not safe from malicious code, be it via piracy. Or it's just like Windows.
But that's really all.
I would like to add that
it's all operating systems.
I guess none of us condone piracy. That would be.
I would say definitely, like it's so dangerous.
Yeah,
software piracy.
Don't pirate.
Like you're giving a program root access to your system when you install it.
Yeah.
Do not download a cracked version of anything.
Exactly, especially that the binaries live in your root.
Yeah, you have absolutely no idea what that program's going to do. And if somebody's giving something away for free, I mean that's part of the scam. I'm saving you that $100 you would have to pay. So chances are a lot of people are going to grab my malware and put it on their computer. And then once I have their computer,
what about
things like hold your computer hostage? You know that $100 you were going to pay to Sublime. Now you're going to pay it to me to get your computer back, or else I'm going to wipe your file system.
Yep.
What about apps like Nuclear?
Didn't check that.
Yeah.
And there's also a video one corresponding to Nuclear.
Yeah, but
that is Yeah, for getting around certain content providers, namely the one we're on right now. So we probably don't want to focus too much
I
on
don't
ways
support
to.
that either.
Yeah.
I don't support that either.
Yeah, I
no,
have
I
no
don't support
moral.
it. I
I have no
haven't-
moral objections against it, but I will say, yeah, you don't want to talk about that on this platform.
Yeah.
It's like-
It's by its copyright infringement. As a YouTuber, as a programmer, I like copyright, no matter how much, because it is the law. It is a set of laws that allow me to do, when I'm a developer, allow me to do open source, because without copyright, open source would be impossible. And on the other hand, when I'm a YouTuber, it allows me to protect my face
Right.
when I put it on YouTube, so somebody cannot utilize. Someone
Exactly.
has a harder time utilizing it for their own purposes.
So suffice it to say that Linux is equally as vulnerable as any other operating
course.
system to everything.
Of course.
That stigma that Linux has garnered throughout the years that, hey, there ain't a virus on Linux, you can use it, it's safe.
no, because as being one of those people that has said this over the years, that Linux is more secure than proprietary operating systems like Windows and Mac, it's that with Linux, when you're installing your distribution, the distribution is not shipping spyware by default on it like Windows is.
This is
So
the clearer.
it's
This is
different.
the clearer way
We're
of
not saying
things.
that a user can't go get his own spyware and bring it into the system. We're just saying the system
No, but
didn't come with it by
that's
default.
what I was saying. We need
Right.
to get this stigma and explain it better the way you just did. It's the operating system is more secure.
I just
but
want
that
it
doesn't mean
because
that
we're
the
not about to
software
compare
is.
Linux and Windows as far as what they're shipping with. Like there's a big difference what Windows 11 is doing to its
shipping out of
customers.
the box. It's more secure.
It's got a
but-
keylogger built into it.
Yeah.
You know, come on, man.
I am using that key. I'm using that keylogger. It's called SwiftKey.
Yeah.
It's called
I
SwiftKey.
just looked up
As
some
soon as you
Python.
install SwiftKey, you're just agreeing to Microsoft to send Microsoft everything you type on SwiftKey.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
smartphones are smarter these days, where whenever it detects that you are inputting code for your banking app, it immediately kills SwiftKey and replaces it with the operating system's default.
I know most banking apps I've seen actually have an internal keyboards, their own keyboards. You
Well,
cannot.
I
this-
have three. I have three. None of which have their own keyboard. They just replace the SwiftKey with the
No, at least for the passcodes, I cannot actually.
I have never logged into a
I
banking
see,
app on my phone ever.
I have to.
I have to. Same.
I won't
because-
do it. I don't trust my phone.
Well,
Yeah, I know, but
I have a phone.
sometimes apps when you
I
buy
have a
something
phone for
online,
that.
I've got
have
an
to
Android phone. There's no way in hell I'd log into
I
my bank
have
account with
a
this thing.
phone just for banking. Literally have a phone just for banking.
no,
It's
for
the
me,
burner phone for banking.
yeah, no, for me,
Yeah.
honestly, I need the app because if I want to, like, for example, DT, in order for me to continue to be a patron of yours, every time they swipe money, they have to send me an OTP code.
Yeah,
Not
Yeah,
not as an SMS, but as an app verification.
App
thing.
notification,
The app
you
will
have
send
to,
me a
yeah.
notification.
that's
No.
that's more them. That's I would recommend everybody to do it. Basically, you have to then select yes. It's basically a second factor.
Yeah,
it's
two-factor
two-factor
authentication.
authentication.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
For banking.
a
Without
good idea to
that,
have.
I cannot continue to pay for
Yeah.
anything online.
I same. I cannot pay online if I do not check. Yes, that's really me. That's
That,
really what I
but
want to pay for it.
Which brings me to my current problem that I haven't successfully fixed with my bank is I'm not receiving that push notification on my app
Oh,
because something is going on their end with my phone number with our carriers here in Lebanon. I'm not receiving it, so I can't use my card online.
mine isn't connected to a number. Mine is connected to basically to their servers directly. Or,
It's
Probably over
my bank
HTTPS.
uses my bank uses phone numbers.
Yeah,
So
I am completely over HTTPS. It is a pain to set up.
yeah, but
That's why I have a separate phone for it, because I literally know I won't be resetting it. anytime soon.
Yeah. But
Clear the
anyway,
reason.
security on your operating systems relies on you, the user, to know what you're installing on your system, and to not do the wrong things on your system, whatever that wrong thing might be.
I will say traditionally, the worst things to download to a computer, traditionally, because these sucker the most people in, is porn and gaming hacks.
Yep.
You know, just be careful. You shouldn't be on those sites anyway.
Exactly.
But don't go download the latest hack for a game because you want to cheat at a game and, you know, beat all your friends at a game. That hack, 99% of the time, that is malware.
It's called a trainer, and I my entire gaming life I used to play games with trainer running in the background until a friend of mine told me, "Have you ever thought of scanning the trainers you are running in the background?" I was like, "No, but they allow me to cheat because games these days they don't have actual cheats like the olden days where you just bring down the console and you type your cheat." And
Right.
so now you need a trainer. He was like, "Scan the directory." Out of 600 trainers that I had, 236 had malware in.
I would have thought the number. I would have thought the number would be much higher because literally it's almost always malware. It's
inject code. Basically, what are trainers? They inject code
because why are
into your
people trying to help
executable.
you? These people aren't just trying to help you cheat at a game out of the goodness of their heart, right? They're doing it for a reason. That reason is there's more in that package than what you think.
Exactly. And what do trainers do? They inject code into the game's actual executable. So you never know what. So be careful what you do.
Not to mention that, you know, if you're detected with some of these advanced anti-cheat systems now.
Oh, you're banned for life.
You could lose your game that you paid for. I mean,
you'll be banned for life.
And honestly, I do like it. As much as I hate how pervasive these anti-cheats are, I do like people not cheating in my game and
but that won't stop them from cheating. They will always find
it never. That's my thing. I hate
but
the people
at
that
least,
ruin these online games.
At least,
but you can't stop them.
It resolves those most simple
egregious
cases. You have to actually try to cheat. It's not like you can just press a button and couple of things in here. Then you have to spend money. You have to actually try and cheat.
Oh, trust me, Big Pod. You haven't seen that. I'm not going to mention the website because I don't want people to go there. There is a website that sells trainers.
Yeah. I know that
they make you pay egregious amounts of money just to be able to hack your game.
Like cheat market is a huge market for games. Like I played World of Warcraft. I know I know how people pay for things like multi-boxing and shit like that. That's nothing new.
I was a victim. I paid $50.
Why?
Because I don't like to play games where I have to repeat the level multiple times. It's like reading the same chapter in a book over and over again.
That's a standard game mode for you because I like to play hardcore.
That's why I gave up on gaming. That's why I gave up on gaming because I wanted security over insecurity. So I was
that's why I don't play games on Linux.
I don't play games at all. I don't want to have to install Windows.
And the thing that I play, this is at the time that I boot into my system, then I reboot and I'm back on Linux and I do things. Unless I'm using Zoom because Zoom broke on Linux again for me. I hate Zoom on Linux. That's why
it's not just a Zoom problem. It's all Electron apps on Linux. Yes. Essentially, they're all flaky.
However, Discord officially announced before the end of the year, they're releasing a version that's 100% compatible with Wayland and screen sharing. They announced it officially on their website.
Okay.
That's good news. So Electron,
I guess
Electron is moving slowly.
Well, I would think being Electron based, they would have already had all of that worked out by now anyway.
Well, no, because people have to resort to WebCourt in order to do
sharing
on
welcome to
I guess if you're using
million versions. That's the
Yeah.
problem. That's the problem with something like Electron. There's like 5,000 versions of Electron
Yeah.
out there
Oh,
because you have 5,000
Yeah,
different versions of it by
some
now.
applications, when you install
So
them,
some
they bring their
applications
own
work, some
version of
don't.
Electron.
I've got
Yeah.
4 different
Like,
versions of Electron installed on my home
Let me
computer right now.
correct you. Every application brings their own version of Electron.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's based on JavaScript, and JavaScript doesn't have the concept of
Yeah, I'm curious.
For example, Zoom and Discord are using the same version of Electron 28.
yes, but they have their own built in. It's not like it's using the system version.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
may be using same version, but
each version is different. Yeah, although
they
same
could be
version
using
number.
a different build of the same version.
Yeah,
Maybe even
that is true.
one build different, because that's welcome to JavaScript.
Yeah.
And you think we have it bad on Linux.
Ironically,
Electron's
that's
horrible on the
better.
BSDs.
Yeah.
Ironically, that's better how JavaScript. I hate JavaScript, but JavaScript does it better than most Linux anyway, because dynamic packages, I hate them.
Yeah, we all do. But speaking
I'm
of
just glad he mentioned JavaScript. I was waiting for.
Yeah, when he
JavaScript
mentioned
talk.
JavaScript, it reminded me that KDE, with all their with Plasma 6, they switched from using metadata for their themes instead of metadata.desktop. Now it's metadata.json.
Ah, great.
Yeah, more JavaScript.
Doesn't mean in JavaScript.
Yeah, that's
JSON,
not.
it is something born out of JavaScript, but it's not anymore JavaScript, and not connected to JavaScript at all.
Okay,
But even if they were doing stuff with JavaScript, I mean, JavaScript is where everybody's going these days. So,
I hate that everybody's going to JavaScript.
It's such a popular language, and I don't get it.
Yeah,
I know why. I've never understood it.
I know why it is popular. I don't get it, but I know why it's popular, because it's used for browser front end, and because it's somewhat
because
easy.
of the web.
Because
the web has made it popular.
Easy.
Yeah.
But
it's stupidly easy. Is that what you said?
As a language, it's very stupid and very easy. Stupidly easy.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that 0 in quotation marks is equal to number 0? If you use double equals. Yes. Did you know that that if you use triple equals, because that's something completely JavaScript, number 0 isn't equal to string of 0. Welcome to JavaScript.
Well, why would you?
The good parts.
So
I don't know. See, I'm used to sane languages like Haskell, where everything.
Yes, that's why I said it's stupid. It's like it's really, really, really made for really, really normie people, while at the same time being really, really not for normie people. It's a
and
stupid
here's our
language.
lesson in JavaScript during this stream.
My lesson for Java: don't use JavaScript, but at the same time you have to if you're doing front end, because what else do you have as an option? WebAssembly.
If you're doing web applications, you have to know JavaScript. Like you can't.
Well, I don't use it anymore. I use WebAssembly, or I use C#, which I compile into WebAssembly, but that's not an option for most people, because I can write whatever I want because they're applications for me.
Yeah. Because I know
and
every year that when they do these surveys on sites like GitHub and GitLab, as far as like the most popular languages people are working in, like Python and JavaScript are always like 1 and 2.
Yeah,
they sometimes switch places, but like everybody's working in those languages. And JavaScript, like Python, I get because Python has so many different uses, but JavaScript is so niche.
Problem is it's not niche. Problem is JavaScript has been shoehorned into just about anything.
Yeah, it's used in places it shouldn't be.
Yeah,
and the person who is at fault, in my opinion, although this is a bit of a joke, is the person who invented Node.js.
Oh,
that person pushed because the idea was that front-end people could write a backend,
right?
Which might be a valid idea.
That was the game changer right there.
Problem is that at the same time, it shoehorned JavaScript into everything.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. If they didn't do that, JavaScript would stay where it is good at, front-end web, or just writing writing the dynamic front ends. If it
You know
stayed there,
what?
it would be great. Problem is, doesn't stay there.
I'll be honest, I don't know as much about JavaScript as I should because it's not a language I play with very often. So, Dark Zero, instead of your bash scripting series, you should start a JavaScript series. Teach me how to JavaScript.
I'm
I know
able
enough
to get
about
by with
JavaScript.
Bash.
I know enough about JavaScript that I know it makes me mad.
Okay,
I
don't
know
wanna go
enough
mad.
about it where when I open up a file and it's written in JavaScript, I just want to
You're gonna
close the
know.
file and I don't want to look at it anymore.
Look,
Well,
I made a program that basically I was like trying to make something work. So you have two ways to include a package, like how C you do include hashtag include
Right.
something.h.
here's
In JavaScript, there's two ways to include. Watch this. You have a model and have something else. I forgot what it is. I did the first the option is in the model. It said you need to include it as a model. I drew it as a module, and it just went, you need to include it as the other thing. And it went in circles. I was
Yeah.
like, yay, JavaScript. Let me do
here's the
something else.
oxymoron is I don't want to learn JavaScript yet. What I use in my website is JavaScript because it's React.
Yeah.
My website is also JavaScript. I'm sad it is. It isn't React. It's Next, I believe it. Next.js.
Yeah, I'm just looking up real
I'm
quick.
sad.
How is JavaScript with GTK bindings, like GTK4 bindings? How hard would it be to make a GTK app?
I'm not sure it has them.
You don't? Okay.
Because I
But-
think GTK is CSS mostly.
That doesn't matter. You can combine it to anything you want. That's the
You can use CSS on a GTK
yeah.
app, but it shouldn't matter what language you're.
I believe it doesn't have them, or it might. I don't know. But you probably could, if you want to make a desktop app, because Electron could use React Native, which probably does compile
React,
to
but that would be
GTK.
heavy.
Actually,
found
that would
some-
make a
There's React Native. That's the other thing.
that would make a great
fuck.
series. Dark Zero.
Yeah.
Build your first Electron app.
Yeah.
I found
That
some.
would be.
I found some
Electron app
GTK
using React because
Yeah, it wouldn't be that
React-
hard either. To create something simple on camera, nothing complex.
Yeah, I might do that because I use React, and you can combine all that in an Electron app. Because my old tool, the GUI version of my tool before I switched to Bash, was built in React.
Yeah,
You
but
can start-
if you built on React, why not use React Native then? Why use Electron?
React Native, but you have to
You write
containerize
React.
it in
No, that's what React Native does for you. It's native to React, and it does a native.
Yeah, but if
native
you
app.
want to make it into an app, not a website.
No, that's what React Native does. React Native is an extension to React that makes a desktop application.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's basically
So you don't
it's
need Electron at all. Is what?
Yeah.
you-
It
I
has
don't
its
need
own version of Electron, I believe,
Okay.
or does it compile to native bindings? I don't know.
Oh,
If you
well,
know Rust, you can use Tori, which replaces
Yeah,
Electron.
Tori.
It's a lot smaller. It doesn't come with a browser like that does. It
Again,
uses
another
your
one of
native
those.
browser on your system, so it's a lot smaller
Yeah.
the binary. But you have to know Rust, which
Yeah, and
I'll
there is
have
another problem.
to.
I know Rust. I know
You do?
Rust. I wouldn't use that.
Well, my speaking of Rust, the main menu of my app, of my terminal app, is written in Rust
Ugh.
because Oglo is the one who made it. So Oglo is a
you
Rust
just use
guy.
what you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tend to use C# or Go. Those are the two languages.
I mean,
I
depending
hate
on
Go, but
depending on what the tool is, if it's something simple, I'm just gonna always default to Bash scripting. Now, if it's something more complicated than that, then I'll consider Python or something else. But but Bash scripting is always going to be what I default to for simple
in
jobs.
chat, Zoe has a question: what language are Qt apps developed in? And that is originally that's C++ as the official bindings, but
Those
you
are the
have
official.
many bindings for many languages. So you have Python bindings are pretty popular. You have C# bindings. I know You probably have Rust binding. You probably have
Yeah, you can
Go
use C,
binding.
C++, Python. Those are the three
Yeah.
really popular ones for Qt.
It's Qt is I believe mainly written in C++, so C++ would be default from which
Right.
then every other binding is made.
Mm-hmm.
So it's C++
With-
anyway.
Yeah.
You just then have on top of that another library that uses that library that then displays the application. That's
Yeah.
how bindings work.
And you can do a quick Google search. There's like 4 or 5 languages that they really support, but there's many other languages that people have created bindings for Qt.
Yeah.
But if you know C, C++, or Python, I would choose one of those languages if you knew those languages, because those are well supported. Like
if you know C++, always go by default. So C++ or in GTK that would be C.
Yeah, in GTK, C is
C is the default. C is what it's made.
Yeah,
made
it's
for.
what they
Then
also
everything
support.
Else goes to. They also support C#, Java.
Vala is another one that's
Vala,
officially
Java, I believe, and a couple others like
Do
Python.
they support
of course.
Java? That'd be weirid.
I believe yes.
Really?
Yes. I believe there is Java binding. I believe. It's been a while since I don't look at that because
GNOME does things weird. That makes sense.
Well, what I do know is that there is a alternative future in which JS isn't used in GNOME. It was supposed to be C#, but a lot of people weren't happy with that.
I can imagine because
Michael De Casa. So Michael De Casa, he's like big open source person. Many of you probably know.
But if you want to maximize community support, you want to use languages that people know.
It wasn't for that. It wasn't because of that.
Yeah, but still, that's why people like the just general community would probably react to that. It's like, who the hell knows C# other than Big Pun?
No, it was the reason was because it was made by Microsoft. That's literally the reason why.
Well, that's what was going to be the next thing. Yeah, it's too Microsoft centric.
Yeah,
but you don't want to be tied to.
It's better language than it's one of the best languages there is. Sorry, but it's one of the best languages there is.
They couldn't choose something like Go.
Go wasn't at the time, or wasn't popular.
That was several years back, huh?
Yeah, Go probably Go either wasn't created by now or wasn't actually popular because Go came and went a couple of times. Ironically, was thinking how to say it the best way.
Yeah. In the chat, Rational Being, he's asking, what are my views on the Windows subsystem for Linux? I'm not a Windows user, so I have no real thoughts other than it's nice to have a bash shell, a proper bash shell on Windows. So if I was a Windows user, I'd probably use it all the time. But Zero, go ahead.
Yeah, WSL. Very interesting subject because when I discovered about its existence, I started using it, and by that time we were able to run GUI applications from within. So basically, it was like DistroBot.
Now that architecture is fun. Now that architecture is fun. How they did that? Like I love that architecture.
Yeah. So I was able to
and it's Wayland native, only Wayland. Yay!
Yeah. Well, when I first discovered it, the first thing I installed was, for whatever reason, well, I know why I installed it because I'm a KDE fanatic. I installed Dolphin.
Okay. How did that work?
It didn't work all that well because it doesn't. I couldn't theme it. I couldn't make it transparent. So
that is because it's using Western for one. For two, that is because it's actually completely separate from your normal desktop. The architecture of how that works is really, really, really good. It uses free RDP. It uses Western and Wayland, and makes that work through another WSL instance, which basically is a system stand-in server, and then displays over RDP on Windows, which then and free RDP is on on the Linux side, and it makes it work as a single application at a level that is really, really, really good. Like,
Yeah,
I love that architecture.
I was able to, however, I was able to install Kden Live, although it exists for Windows. I know.
There's a native version for Windows. Yeah, why would you install the Linux one?
Because that's the second thing that came to my mind, and I installed it, and it worked. It worked. No theming, no nothing, but it worked. I had access to the Windows file system. I had access to everything. They do it so well.
Did you try to render something to see if it?
Yes,
it
it does not use the entire CPU. That's
it's,
one caveat.
I can tell you exactly how much CPU it uses. Half.
Half.
Exactly.
Yes, correct.
Exactly half.
Correct. Exactly
That's
half.
how much is assigned to. How do I know? Because I am one of those geniuses that ran Kimu inside WSL.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now that's going to another level.
I had to actually compile my own kernel, had to set it up so it's nested virtualization, then install Virt Manager and what's his name?
Wait, how did you manage that? Because WSL does not ship with systemd.
I built my own.
He just compiled his own systemd.
I built my own system.
Okay. So
and
basically,
I hooked it up into Microsoft init system. I built my own init system, hooked it up into Microsoft init system, and then it set it up. Also, now systemd is part of VSL.
Oh, they included systemd part of because there is an instance now. It was unofficial, but I think now it's official. Arch image for WSL. I don't know if it's correct. Somebody told me now it's official. Arch is officially part of.
Well, that makes sense.
Systemd basically they had to set up systemd to work because how the WSL actually is. It's a single VM for however many instances you have. It's like
I thought so.
Microsoft, like they actually know what they're doing.
Well,
I cannot say anything else.
That's opposite to Intel because Intel have Clear Linux, their own distribution.
Yeah.
But if you go to their website and try to download it, their download link is dead. So you have to hunt around for the actual ISO, and the ISO that you find is so out of date that you have to download 3.5 gigs worth of updates once you install.
I'm not even sure if Clear Linux, if that's even a priority for like Intel. It's not really.
It has people on it. It has people on it.
It has people on it, and I will tell you something that blew my socks off. Yesterday, I was watching my friend's stream, Air Max. He did a stream on Clear Linux. Gaming, it beat CachyOS, on which they customized the heck out of Arch to get higher performance. Yet Clear Linux beat that. He got 302 frames per second in Tomb Raider.
Packages are made for it. Very, very, very.
He was on AMD.
Intel knows
he was on an AMD system.
Intel
he wasn't on an Intel system.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like Intel has optimized the heck out of those packages. Now back to WSL, how it actually works. So you have a single VM, which is as minimal of a VM as possible. Then it uses the same technology, same kernel technology called kernel namespaces, as used by Flatpak, Docker containers. So
basically, it's a distro box image.
Not exactly. It's a bit more down to the metal than DistroBox. To split the kernel resources into namespaces, which is what kernel namespaces do. It's an amazing technology Linux desktops use more often. Then it splits into like separate pieces. Each have its own networking, yada yada yada. And then just drop a file system into that namespace, and that's it. That's basically, it's a really, really smart way to do it.
The last time I used it, it didn't even have packstrap packages. The Arch version, at least.
No.
Didn't even have
doesn't
packstrap.
Doesn't need to, because it's like literally you drop a file system, a rootfs, onto it without a kernel, and that's it.
All this virtualization stuff that you're impressed with Microsoft's ability, which I'm sure it's impressive stuff, but when they finally drop the NT kernel for the Linux kernel, then they'll just have KVM like the rest of us.
No.
They're not gonna
And
drop the NT kernel, not
they
anytime
will
soon.
never drop Windows. And by the way, Hyper-V is probably better than KVM.
Oh yeah, what Big Pod says, I have to agree with for once, because I use Hyper-V,
Hyper-V is
and
amazing.
dude,
Welcome to the Microsoft show, guys.
the performance there is amazing.
There are ways KVM is better. You have far more control over your VM. So basically, you can set up minutiae of things.
Yeah.
But
performance,
problem with Hyper-V is more its UI, not that Hyper-V wouldn't allow you to set the minutiae of things. Because
but
if you go on CLI, you can set up minutiae of things anyway.
But with Hyper-V,
Hyper-V,
the performance of the guest OS is much better than KVM.
Yes,
much better. It's almost native.
Yeah, because it is basically native, because it's much more closer to how Zen works than how KVM works, actually. So technically speaking, once you enable Hyper-V, you're technically in a VM anyway, all the time.
But which tool integrates the Hyper-V, guys? Do you know? Because the KVM can be used with the CloudStack, OpenStack, Proxmox, AWS uses it probably.
Hyper-V is integrated into Windows, so they have Windows Server Hyper-V.
Okay.
That's their server version of Windows.
Yeah, isn't it called like Windows
Server
Virtual?
Hyper-V.
Yeah, like
It's
in the
literally
name.
called
Windows Server
Hyper-V.
Virtualization, something another.
Yeah, it's you can download it for
It's
free
free
from their website.
It's actually free, like free. There is no license for it.
Yeah, I still have the link in my bookmarks to download those images.
Now, how is a GPU pass through? Because KVM obviously does a great job with that.
GPU pass through is a bit complicated. It is possible, I believe, especially now that you can split the GPU.
Yeah.
Which is the only one.
Yeah,
that
well, you still need
GPUs.
a separate GPU. You need a separate.
Yeah, but
well, that's always the case. Yeah, you're gonna need a second GPU.
Not if you don't do the splitting. The splitting works with hosts having one split, but like you cannot really do much else, because like
exactly
is really hard, because all
Chris Stack made had a streamed it a week ago or something. I watched it. I sat through the entire thing, and I watched him painfully set it up. But he got a company to send him a computer that's worth, I don't know, $12,000 or something like that.
Yeah. If you want to do splitting, which on Linux you cannot do on normal GPU, that's Windows only because of WSL.
And while we're on the topic of GPU pass-through, because I haven't really played with VirtualBox in a while. VirtualBox still doesn't support GPU pass-through. I know that was the case a few years ago.
That's like GPU pass-through is one of the most hackiest things in the world, and you shouldn't do it unless
I mean, it's not something for normal users to
even attempt. And VirtualBox is for normal
hard
people.
Even for very much advanced users. Like I know
I wouldn't say VirtualBox is necessarily for normal people. Dark Zero. I mean, there's professionals that use it in some capacity.
If you want the
GPU pass through, really isn't that ideal for virtual machines. Like you'd rather have something like VirtIO GPU, right? But it just through that.
No. GPU pass through.
If you want any kind of real like CUDA, you want a pass through GPU, and Intel does believe in passing through GPUs. They do or in splitting GPUs. What they don't believe in is doing it on consumer cards.
Well, for Cura or stuff like that, GPU pass through.
You have to buy a Quadro.
That's expensive cards, though. I mean, you're talking
10 times more expensive, but it has that, and I believe not even all Quadros supported.
I could buy a car for what I could purchase a Quadro card for.
Yeah, and speaking of Nvidia, with the latest version of Wayland, at least on KDE, it basically hacked off my GPU, telling my GPU, hey, you want to use Wayland? Upgrade yourself. It's like
Really?
Wayland.
Really?
Before Plasma 6, I was able to log into Wayland and basically use it with a few issues here and there. Now I cannot even. It's unusable. I cannot right click. I cannot do anything without menus eating up other menus and stuff like that. It's a nightmare now. It's basically. And I think 555, if I'm not wrong, will be the last driver that supports the 10 series.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're probably dropping it across the board.
But you know, if you
It's all right. You can still have the Nouveau drivers. You just keep running them.
Well, they're working on a Rust version of the Nouveau driver called Nova.
That's that, and guess who's working on it? Red Hat.
Yeah.
So somebody like they might actually deliver it.
If you want a simple experience, just even try to like get to, you know, whether you're using Looking Glass or whatever, you know, the old school way of doing it is, you know, having a separate GPU, and then, you know, most monitors have multiple inputs now. You know, you can just switch between inputs and use a USB KVM switch to switch your mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, but just getting it to pass through is a pain in the ass.
Well, according to Chris Titus Tech's video, he did it in an hour and a half.
Well, if you have good IMO, you know, IOMMU groups, then that helps tremendously. But a lot of it is software too.
You need to know how to exclude your GPU from system. You need to have properly set it up. You need to have proper IOMMU groups, which not all motherboards have. You need to enable IOMMU groups.
But it'd just be really cool to have a VM that you could game in, that you could render video in, like that. That you need a real GPU for.
Yeah. Or you can do that. You can do that.
Games don't allow VMs.
Yeah, well, you can do that.
Oh well, if you're anti-cheat, right.
Yeah.
Well, there is.
I mean, it's better than it used to be. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You can do it much easier. You don't want the headache. You want to do pass through. You want to do all this stuff. Just use Cubes away.
Cubes. If you've ever played with Cubes on physical hardware,
I have.
It takes up all your CPU all the damn time.
Because they're all the VMs are running all the time because you need to access them immediately.
That would be a big problem for a content creator because you need your CPU to be doing other things. So, like streaming, for example, you know, takes a lot of CPU. I couldn't stream on Cubes OS. There's no way.
Well, look at me now because of the NVENC encoder issue in freaking OBS. I'm using software render, and my CPU during the render, I can't do anything with it.
But guess
it won't run on older hardware either. It has to be.
But guess what about Cubes OS? It doesn't use KVM.
No,
it uses their own thing.
No, it uses Zen.
Zen.
Wanna know why?
Zen hypervisor.
Wanna know why it uses Zen? Because even the DOM 0, which is what you would normally be like the desktop you look at when you boot into, even that is a virtual machine.
Right.
Fun fact. Even that is a virtual machine. Exactly. Basically,
everything's separated into its own domain, but even when you default to
DOM 0, what's called DOM 0, it's even called on KVM DOM 0.
Yeah, well,
DOM 0 is, or domain 0 is a VM in Zen case. In KVM, not so much. It's still a host.
Well,
that's a problem.
In order to run Cubes OS successfully, you need a $100,000 computer because you need the motherboard.
Why?
Because I'll tell you how I know. I did my research, and my friend wanted that exact scenario. My friend wanted a Windows 7 thing. He wanted, sorry, not a Windows 7 thing. He uses multiple browsers, each browser with its own hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tabs. Each one, he wanted it in its separate virtual machine. So we did our research. The motherboard alone is $2,000. The CPU alone is $7,000. The RAM you need is $10,000.
So you want a server RAM, server CPU, server motherboard.
Yeah. Well, you would definitely need.
How would you get to $100,000?
You would need a high-end CPU to run Cubes. That's just normal. And you probably want like 64 gigs of RAM, probably 128 gigs of RAM would be.
128. My friend wanted 1.5 terabytes.
Yep. That's so much damn RAM.
Yeah.
You know how much that would cost?
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
that's
tell
hence
you
what
something.
$100,000 price point plus the
You got to
fact
get a
that
motherboard to support all of that RAM. You know, that's
That's
yeah,
a
plus the
standard
fact that he
server
wanted to
motherboard.
do video editing, motion graphics, 3D graphics. He wanted to do all that stuff on cubes.
Okay,
With
yeah,
AI
sure.
coming now, these hardware requirements are going to go up significantly.
no,
I
yes.
think Microsoft's standard now for AI is 16 gigabytes minimum RAM on it.
And
They're
that's if you want
they're talking about laptops that recognize your face. If you stand up and leave, the visual processing unit will turn down the hardware.
That
When you
is
come back and
very.
sit down, it'll come
I'm
back
gonna
on.
tell you that when you get up, and that's very not needing a lot of RAM or a lot of compute because it's actually built into laptop itself. That's,
no,
that's Microsoft Hello. That's Windows Hello. That's very
Dude,
basic feature.
a friend of I don't know I don't know if Big Pod you know him Kudu.
Yeah.
He's into AI a lot, and he's running the 7B version, the 7 billion model, and that 7 billion instructions per second model is takes 5 minutes to reply, literally 5 freaking minutes to reply.
Yeah,
and that requires
because,
16 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, because you need, but that is a different thing than what you would be running on your system normally.
Yeah. But Murray makes a good point that the cost of everything's going to go up because the requirements for everything are going to go up. Like, I mean, right now these AI cards that Nvidia are shipping.
Well, that's the catch. That's the catch. You won't actually have a better computer. You just have a what is on a TPU. Have an additional card in your system.
Their new Blackwell computer
Blackwell
GPU is 4 times more efficient and 35 times less the power on it than their current 100 chips.
Because
I believe that will cost you $1,500.
Yeah, it costs you.
Yeah, but it is an accelerator specifically built for AI.
Yes.
So it has specifically fixed function hardware for AI. It doesn't actually.
It's not the desktop. It's a GPU.
Server. It isn't actually a GPU. Yeah. It is a fixed function hardware, as far as I believe.
Yeah, but you need scalable hardware in order to run AI.
That thing is scalable very much.
Yeah.
Catch is if you wanna run good AI on your net at home, you need servers. Sorry.
Yes, you need servers. You need a room to quiet them down.
Apparently, all these companies are buying into it because Nvidia and the same thing with AMD. A lot of these chip manufacturing companies, they can't keep anything in stock because these companies are hungry for all this AI stuff.
Of course, let's wait a couple of years.
Yeah. No, especially in consumer grade CPUs, they tell you 50% of that CPU is dedicated to AI.
Yeah. So it actually
I'm like, what if I want my entire CPU for my own thing, not AI?
It's not that kind of compute. That compute you cannot reassign that to your compute tasks because it's fixed function hardware for AI. But it's not as TPUs or
it's like
tensor processing units. It's like specific fixed function hardware. It's not CPU cores. It's different type of compute that is part of your CPU.
Yeah, but what if I want the whole cycles of the CPU I paid money for to be for me?
Those are not cycles.
Separate.
Those are not the cycles. They have no connection to core. No connection to cores. There's no connection to that. If you have a 16-core CPU, you have 16 cores for your stuff, but you have additional parts of the CPU that do other stuff. Like for example, you have on your Nvidia card, you have NVENC.
Yeah,
that's a special chip on it.
Yeah,
exactly like that. There is a special chip on.
Oh, so I can either use it or not use it, but it's not going to eat up.
Is it kind of like having a dual CPU where you get two chips?
It's like having a GPU on your CPU. It's like having an iGPU.
Okay,
iGPU is a special piece of hardware on the CPU. It's not the CPU itself. It's not using the CPU hardware. It's part of the hardware, but doesn't use CPU resources to run.
So it's not gonna eat up into the resources. Okay.
No. That's why it's that much more efficient because it's
And more
specifically
expensive.
made
And more expensive.
actually
nominal.
cheaper.
But I
Actually,
can't wait for AI.
nominally cheaper per compute unit.
Yeah, AI is going to change everything because the more I think about it, as
Yes,
a
it will change
YouTuber,
everything.
I could just start this stream
Yes.
and I could tell AI, you know what, keep the conversation going. Occasionally ask questions to you guys. I don't need to be here. We'll just have AI
Yes.
run everything.
Yes, it will change everything.
Hey,
AI called GT.
I don't need to
Zero
actually
humans
edit
on
my
Earth.
videos in Caden Live. Caden Live will now have an AI assistant.
Don't go there, because there is actually an editor out there that my dad
Sure.
saw an ad for on his Samsung phone.
I think
That will
Eric,
do the editing for you. You just give it.
Oh, that's coming.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Everything.
Anything multimedia, AI
There
is
is
going to take
AI
care of it for
everywhere.
Yeah, I
us.
think
now.
Eric AH made like an editor that cuts up your video automatically and splices it up and makes everything all
Oh,
nice.
yeah. I could actually
Automatically
see
like a couple years ago.
AI will
is-
create my own images inside the video editor. So
Yes.
if I need an image for something, just tell AI, create an image for me to insert in
Yeah.
this scene here, and it'll create the image for me.
Yeah,
By
It's
having
coming.
conversations
I-
with yourself.
that's
I
why
had a,
I'm waiting 2 years before I even try anything, because that's when we're gonna see realistic products.
well, I had a,
Right. Right now, these cards that Nvidia are selling for like $30,000 or whatever the hell, that's
No,
crazy
I'm not
prices.
That. I'm not talking that. That's not the crazy price. Those were the prices before. Their prices now.
well, you
The
know,
catch is the products, the AI products. In 2 years, we're gonna see real AI products when the hype dies down, and that's same as with blockchain. Same with anything. Realistic
Mhm.
products came out years after it actually technology became hyped. Same will be with the AI. Wait a couple of years before we actually talk about AI products as a realistic solution.
Yeah, Mr.
I used AI recently to. I couldn't find a KDE setting, so I asked it to have the setting how to change the logout. Found it right away. I've got about 345 applications in my Rust cargo. I just dump any utilities in there. I don't know what half of them are. So I gave it a list of those utilities and asked to give me a one-line description of each one. I had to do it in chunks, but it gave me a description for all of them. So now I have
How many of them were
Proxmox,
malware?
One thing,
Proxmox containers. I learned how to use it, and I never did because it's so esoteric. There's 3 types of output called Splice, Xterm.js, or no VNC, and I don't know one from another, so I asked the AI what it was, and I eliminated Spice on it.
I do.
It also
I
had
do all 3.
It also had settings for Fuse that I didn't know existed, and told me how to do that. So I'm using containers and Proxmox normally where I wouldn't use it before because it got through the hard stuff.
When you can remember the whole manual at the drop of the hat, you're gonna know better than a human. Believe me.
That's right.
But yeah, I can tell you, Xterm.js is basically the terminal emulator in JS.
Yeah, and I don't think in a couple
Spice
of years,
is a protocol to get VIDA from VM or container or whatever, and no VNC is basically VNC protocol.
And IntelliJ has its own AI.
What
built
does
in.
it now?
yeah, and that's where I was going to go.
That's
You won't
the
have to ask AI about KDE soon because KDE will just have its own AI assistant. So we'll get them. They'll
That's
have
the
those
hype.
already.
I'm impressed that
I don't use
Stack
any AI
Overflow has
assistant.
been dying because of like ChatGPT, like there are less and less.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that they haven't integrated ChatGPT into it yet.
There's
AI
a reason why.
has really
They
killed a
hate
lot
it.
of educational companies too, because why would I need to
Because
employ
AI
any of your
does very
services when
bad education.
ChatGPT can answer everything for me?
Because
Well,
AI
you
does
still
bad
have to,
education.
you still have to be able to synthesize the information and know what you're looking at. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
one of
but
the
you guys-
it's a rabbit hole.
Look,
Yeah,
Look,
but
I
you
assist
guys,
you right now.
you guys haven't seen that on the news because it's local to me. But there's this kid in school who got expelled for a
ChatGPT.
sentence, for one sentence. He said to his teacher.
Sure.
He was like, "We don't need you no more. We got AI."
He's right.
He's
No, the
absolutely
problem
right.
is he isn't right because
He's right.
look,
Yeah.
I have done experiments with AI, like with ChatGPT,
Well,
with
he was
Microsoft
he was a
Copilot.
13-year-old kid who
They
was
have AI to write your essay for you.
Great.
And then
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we don't allow
But
that.
here's the problem: is you still have to know what you're talking about. I mean,
Yes.
it's an old question. I mean, it's one of those things where some people are going to get information. There's nobody really more dangerous than somebody who doesn't know what they don't
Yeah.
know
who tell
when
that
it
to
comes
You
to
do not know
data
what you do not
information.
know.
yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
tell that to elongated
makes-
Tusk.
You're
Tell that
gonna
to
use-
elongated Tusk.
you're going to use AI
He
to
knows
write
more
your
than
class
you, than
assignment,
all of us
and then
together,
your teacher
so.
Here's
uses
the
AI
thing.
to monitor it,
here's the
to
thing with
test
it,
it.
because
Well, the teachers are going to
The
start using AI to
most
create their
school
lesson
systems,
plans. So
right,
No.
they're
Well, of
designed
course.
around getting points, right, for your assignments and stuff. So of course, like students or I don't know, scholars are gonna take all the shortcuts they can to get just the
Of
point,
course.
you know?
Yeah, but the elongated
And
Tusk, as I like to call him, he says we no longer need developers. He says AI will take care of things. I'm like,
Yeah,
who will be left to make sure that AI is doing the right job?
Yes.
Who will do the
Human
maintenance?
overlords.
Let
But
me
AI just
tell you.
introduces
Let me
like
tell
20
you.
memory
Yes.
blocks.
Who's going to do
One
the
time in
maintenance on it?
future, he's correct. One time in future we will be, the developers won't be needed because well, that's the
Yeah.
real situation. Because it is the closest thing you have to natural language processing is programming. Problem is right now that it is not there yet, but it will be one day.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's
Just a
a
matter of
very
time.
bad day. That's a very, very, very bad day for humanity.
There is a really,
Because
really big
10
issue.
seconds after that capability gets fully
Okay.
perfected, humanity won't exist anymore.
Here's the thing, right? Because AI is only trained on previous data, right?
Yes.
And it cannot create new things, right? It cannot make
Technically, it
yeah, it
creates
cannot
new things.
create any new
Just
things, you know?
it creates exactly the same way human brain creates new things. Was technically saying we could say humans cannot create new things.
No,
Same way,
because
because we learn from previous things. We don't just gain knowledge from air.
well, yeah,
We learn from
but
previous things.
what I'm saying here is that it cannot have the ability to create new solutions, you know? That's what I'm
It
trying to
can.
get at.
It can.
It only
Just
gets
not
like
just not LLMs. That's not the current iteration. When we get to AGI, that is exactly what it'll be doing.
yeah, but
Is
I'm not talking about AGI, I'm talking about current level AI, you know?
yeah, but it's a stepping
Current level
stone.
cannot be.
It's a stepping
Current
stone.
level
Cannot
is
reinvent the
down.
wheel and make it better. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah, but expecting it will stay that way is like hoping that the rock that's coming directly towards you will not hit you. It's basically
Well, we cannot
physics.
predict it, really.
Like
I mean,
inertia says it will happen.
It can stay at this level forever, you know?
No,
It
it will
can't,
not
it won't,
because
it
humanity.
Because people are trying to get past it.
Yes.
We're all going to be living in the metaverse soon.
Yeah.
Only way
Very true,
for
very
it to
true.
not go
13th
past
floor
it if
for
people
all of
stop.
us.
I don't know if any of you is well. DT and I are old enough to know this, but Pink Floyd, one of their the Wall, basically on their DVD, they have a video clip where the guy is sitting in a chair and he's living basically in a metaverse. But they turned it into a little bit weird Pink Floyd style cartoon. But he was
A
basically
drug-induced cartoon.
yeah. It's basically he's living his entire life as a young, slender woman, but he's a guy. But he chose to be a woman in that universe, and it was a cartoon. He was living his life all happy, but in reality, he was dying on rotting in his chair because he was living his real life was the metaverse kind of thing.
There is many takes on that across all sorts of media. You have
Yeah. One of them being Pink Floyd, and that was in the 70s.
You have written books about it. At
You have the
day,
Matrix in the 90s.
There is Matrix,
right?
yes.
Right.
Like
The Matrix
course.
is kind of different.
You know what? I will say this about Zuckerberg. He's actually very brilliant, and he sees a lot of things that are coming way before anybody else sees things. Like this whole metaverse thing, a lot of people made fun of him about it, but honestly, he hit the nail on the head with that. He sees where all of this technology, where it eventually leads. And
somehow Zuckerberg looks more and more human as time goes on.
I don't want to make fun of the way a guy looks, but
to me that's a cheap shot.
I mean, I don't want to go there, but
no, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. He's just accelerating things. He's here to accelerate things. He's like DT said. He saw where technology is leading. He's just accelerating the process by creating the metaverse.
And he takes chances, which I like.
Yeah.
He's a risk taker. That's what I
he doesn't do anything safe. Risk taker. Right. He loses billions of dollars and he shrugs it off of his shoulders. He says, "We'll do better next time."
Have you guys heard the news that the first Neuralink was implanted in a human?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I saw that.
The only thing they did was play video games.
Civilization.
He can move the thing in Pong.
Yep, I saw that. It was like an old Atari game he was playing.
Mario Kart as well.
Yeah.
Just imagine how much progress was needed to get to that point where you can implant something in a human and then just read the brain like that.
Yeah,
they took human brains and put it in a petri dish in the shell and
label it Abby normal.
Yeah,
I don't know. Nobody got the reference, but Young Frankenstein. But where there are some advances that I'm 100% for. I have a relative who's deaf. But in the olden days, there was this earpiece they used to put that used to fall off and break and whatever. Now they implant it directly into your
they can get into your skull and
and now he hears much better. It's like he never was deaf.
So you can't talk about him behind his back anymore in front of him.
Stuff like the Neuralink are gonna be fine as long as it's just to help.
Slendy.
Because otherwise,
this is where I will tell you that history has proven you wrong multiple times. Whenever humanity creates something for good, it will always be used for the bad as well.
The criminals will figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. That's like if something can be used for good,
it'll be used for bad. There is no good without bad.
But some of us are glass.
The dichotomy of
some of us are glass half full kind of people. Some of us are glass half empty kind of people.
But
Zero Linux, you are one of those glass half empty people. You see the worst in people.
No, I don't see the worst in people. It's history that has proven that point.
Yes.
Einstein didn't create the nuclear bomb to bomb people and to kill people. Yet that's what it was used for.
You can create laws and stuff to prevent certain bad things to happen.
Really?
We dream of that.
You can't pass laws to prevent criminals from breaking the law.
Yes.
Like laws. That's not the way laws work. Laws don't prevent crime. A criminal will always break a law. That's why he's a criminal.
I'm going to say what he's trying to say, because I do know the point of it. Like it makes it that some people think about whether they should do it or not. And some of them will then stop.
Well, they might think about the consequences of going to prison, for
lower
example.
The number, that means lower chances of success, and so on, so on, so on. Yeah. They're
but a real life gangster, he doesn't care about laws.
Yeah, but people that are lost.
Think about it. Criminals are not the majority of the population, right?
You know what? I'm going to disagree. This is where I'm going to side with. There's a lot higher percentage of people out there that have that criminal kind of mindset than most people.
Yeah. 1 in 100 is a psychopath. They're not murderous psychopath, but they'll end up as CEOs on it.
Yeah, a lot of them do very well in the corporate world. You're right.
Yeah.
But they have a criminal mindset doesn't mean you're a criminal.
Not necessarily, but that capability lies within
No, we all
Yeah,
no.
well.
Here's the thing: we all have a good side and a bad side. It
Yeah.
depends if we have the ability to
What
keep the bad
choices we
side
make
at bay.
and
Yeah.
what we were taught and what
Yeah.
choices we make. It's all
Yeah,
based on that.
exactly. It
And I
And
want
if
to
we
wish
have
everybody a happy Easter. You know, while we're everything
and
on
an
the
important
subject.
note
as well.
is if we have the support and like just everything given to us at a
but
proper
humanity
we
will
have enough
remain.
resources.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but humanity will remain as humanity.
It's always been this way. It'll always be
Yeah.
this way. You've always
Yeah.
got good and bad people. I mean, it's
Yeah, like
the nature of it.
recently after I had the pleasure of watching Dune Part 2 in IMAX, IMAX 1570 in 70 millimeter, not laser, but 70 millimeter. I don't know what miracle happened, but Lebanon is one of those 12 countries, only countries that has 70 millimeter projector. I fell so much in love that I got the audiobooks, I got the actual books digitally, and I got the soundtrack, and I'm reading the audiobook with the soundtrack in the background, and it's not what you see in the movies. The actual story deals with actual humanity, it deals with ecological stuff, it deals with a lot of real things, whereas the movies don't do it justice because the movies is what Hollywood wants. It's a hero movie. It's whatever. It has nothing to do with the actual story. But read the books, and I will tell you that once you read there are 6 books, 3 by Frank Herbert and 3 by his son. Once you get into reading and understanding what you are reading, you're going to think that Frank Herbert was living during AI days when he wrote that book, because the whole story begins 10,000 years after humanity has boycotted machines and AI. So
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I've read the books. I haven't seen the movies. I'll eventually check the movies out. But let's
you
get a
read the
last
book?
word from everybody, because we're running late here. It's already after noon here.
I'm surprised you read the books. I don't know many people who.
Oh yeah, I like sci-fi and I like fantasy and I like
Weird
horror books. I like suspense. Yeah, I don't do a lot of fiction these days. I just don't have as much time just to sit around and read. But as a younger person, I used to read a lot. Very avid reader.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's get a last word from Slindy.
Oh, okay. Well, I just joined, so I don't really know what to say, but
Whatever's on your mind, just
I guess
you don't have anything to say. That's
thank you
fine too.
for having me. And always be careful with oil when cooking.
Good tip. Yeah, less is better.
Yep.
And olive oil tends to burn. Don't heat that stuff up too hot. All right, thanks, Lindy. Murray, give us a last word, sir.
Well, I got a couple of things. I found some applications.
All right.
One is a Chrome add-on and Firefox add-on called Sound Fixer, which normalizes your audio on a lot of websites. I don't know if it'll work in Brave. Does Brave take Chrome extensions?
It does. You just go to the extension store and it'll actually have a button that says Add to Brave.
Okay, so it probably works there.
Yeah, they just work. Yeah.
That's
Matter of
called-
fact, I'm going to go ahead and add it to mine.
Yeah, it
And
works
I
pretty
will
well for
give a
me.
link. I will give a link in the YouTube chat for those wanting a sound fixer. Okay.
Another one is a command line app called Substitute env. It takes a file input where you put in environment variables, hard code them, and it will create a new file with the environment variables substituted. I use it in a configuration file because all the configuration files say you have a log file in it. It's an absolute path. Mm-hmm. Sometimes at the runtime, you need it to be determined at runtime and change it at runtime. So you can just input this file and output it, and you get the configuration file substituted with the environment variables. And that's been invaluable to me. I used to have to hard code my own keyword and then use sed to change it at execution time. This time you don't. So that's kind of good. If you're into Python and your command line apps and you want to parse command line arguments, typically it's argparse or you use click with the decorators. There's a new one called fire. You do pip install fire, import fire, and it takes a lot of the coding out of it. It will parse you pass it a function to fire, and it will take all the command line arguments, keyword, positional, and switches, and do the parsing for you. So you don't have to do any of the coding yourself. It's really good. You can use functions or you can use classes, and it works extremely well. It takes about 90% of the effort out of the parsing command line arguments. That was
Very
done.
cool.
Google did that one.
And
And
Google does all the best stuff.
yeah, I know. Quiz question. What's the maximum length allowed for a URL? If you're in the address bar and you paste something in, what's the maximum allowed length according to the web specs?
Now, you know what? I have
I think
never.
it's 40, 80 something like 4,000 something. Yeah.
No, it's unlimited. There is no maximum limit.
I was about to say.
Chrome, at least.
Some
I know
websites
that.
limited to 2K, but there is no, according to the specs. I've pasted several paragraphs into a AI Q equals on the command line, and it takes it without any trouble. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is
URL
interesting to know.
itself is supposed to be unlimited because you can have as many as you want query strings of it, but each part has certain limitation of size, so it can only be to certain size each part of the URL because there are like rules for that.
I pasted it after saying Q equals for the search term, and it took whatever I put in there for that.
Yeah, Q equals is one part, and I believe it has like it is the one part that's unlimited. Like the whole string is unlimited. The query strings can be limited, but the first part cannot be unlimited. Like there is because there is a domain limit and like just normal in between like a slash something slash. If it isn't a query string or some other type of string that is like a x equals or something like that, it has certain length limitations. It's actually a pretty complex thing to know based on what I remember.
And the last thing are two more sci-fi movies that become free on YouTube. One's called Automata 2014, sci-fi mystery detective. If you like, it's AI. If you like iRobot, you probably like Automata. The other one is Cypher 2002. If you like
Cypher, yeah, I know Cypher.
If you know Truman Show with Jim Carrey, you'd probably like this one. It's darker than that one, but those are two that I picked up on the way, and that would be it for me.
Yeah, I've never heard of those two, but they look interesting. I just looked them up on IMDb. Yeah, I might check those out.
Yep.
All right.
There's this channel on YouTube. I want to push it. I need to push this channel on your podcast because for old people like us who are into old movies, it's called Cult Cinema Classics. That channel pushes new movies every day, full movies from the 50s, 40s, 30s, up to the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. All open license, of course. They're all open license movies, so no piracy there. So for all people who like classics, check out that channel.
Yeah, very cool. All right, Big Pod, give us the last word, sir.
So, first
JavaScript.
of all, I'm gonna reiterate what I said earlier, that open source software doesn't mean secure software in any way, shape, or form. And if it's not you or someone you truly trust, someone you know, who read the source code, it's exactly like it's proprietary.
And you really can't blame anybody about software that you went and downloaded. Like you're the one that's ultimately responsible. So. And
there's another matter that it's a bit of a promotion, advertisement. There is another podcast now. It's called No Text Allowed, and it features me, Josh, and Steve over there, Zero Linux. And you can check it out at show.taxbase.com.
Yeah, you gotta Well, I'll show.techspace
Tuxbase. Tux
Tux
base.
base.com. Let's see. Yeah, I got it. I'll paste that in the YouTube chat.
All editing and production errors are my fault.
All right. And what's the schedule?
We still haven't worked that one out
okay.
yet.
Never mind.
I won't say anything, so I do not make promises.
You don't make promises you can't keep, right?
No, we're still working on it. We had our pilot episode.
I have a day in mind. Just I don't want if things change.
We'll have to discuss it afterwards.
Since we're on episode 2 currently. Yeah.
As long as y'all are talking about Star Trek, I'll tune in.
We're talking about all sorts of things. Like,
okay,
I can talk about episode 1 if you want. Really quickly, it talks about has 3 different topics. First one, it's 2 different topics. First one is what's the first one? I can't remember. The second one is about.
It was about GNOME. The first one was about GNOME. The second one was about
fragmentation in Linux. Yes.
So it is about tech.
Yeah.
Yes,
it is about tech without it being about tech, and
it's about all sorts of tech things and others as well.
Okay, I came up with the name. I'll explain it.
Well, give us your last word.
All right,
because we're way over time.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
My last word is going to be this: you wear glasses. You have been wearing glasses lately, but now on this one, I'm wearing glasses. You're not.
Well, I've got them here in front of me, but yeah, I noticed. I also noticed you didn't shave.
Because I've been so busy with so many things lately. I'm coming back late because of Easter and everything, and plus we broadcast mass on YouTube, on Facebook. So I've been busy with that. I'm gonna shave tonight because tomorrow we have people around. But one last thing I'm going to say is please be mindful how you use your systems. Like Big Pod said, you are the ultimate one who makes your system stable or unstable. It depends on what you're using, how you're using it. If you don't want to take the time to read about what you're using, or if you start blindly trusting packages without knowing what they are, and so then suffer problems, there's only one person to blame, and it's you. So be careful. Linux is not impervious to such things.
Yeah.
You are. Be smart. Be smart.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Let's get a last word from Max. Max, are you there and mic'd up? You want to give us any closing thoughts? He may or may not.
I guess not.
Well, that's fine. We'll skip.
I forgot to say Happy Easter.
Yeah, Happy Easter, everybody. George, give us the last word.
My Easter is next week. Thanks for hosting again, and it's always a good time. Thanks.
Appreciate it, George. Of course, my last word is Happy Easter, which Dark Zero forgot. And also, thank you guys in the YouTube chat. I know we didn't do a lot of questions and comments from the chat, but we tried to pay attention where we can. Other than that, thank you guys for hanging out with me on camera. Thank all the patrons. I'll show some names on the screen. And other than that, yell out your favorite fiction novel.
The Tower.
Martian.
The Tower.
Martian.